Dark Tempered Raidao is coming out tomorrow, and I want to talk about the 3 builds that I'm going to be trying out to do as much damage as I can to defeat this boss as fast as I can on Longsword. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me kill this boss, and let's get into it. The first thing we have to understand is that Raidao is weak to 2 main things: water and ice. Now, this is elemental damage, so we're gonna go first for an elemental damage, but we're gonna see as well an abnormal status build with Blast Blight as well. Also remember that this boss, actually, you can use flash bots in order to prevent them from him getting away from you. And you can fight them over and over again by going into the optional quest When the Dust Settles, or by going into Windswept Plain and resting on any camp with Inclemency, make this boss appear. And hopefully fight it in tempered form to practice for tomorrow. So the first build we're going through is Ice Weapon, because obviously, you know, the Ice element will do more damage right now. And we have all the things that we would expect from a build on Longsword. You have a Counter-Strike in order to abuse EI, to trigger it with Hyper Armor just like this in many of the attacks from Raidao, and get yourself the beautiful 25 attack. You have your Quick Shift to go into EI very fast. You have Maximum Might to get yourself a lot of affinity. Antivirus to pair up with the 2 Gore to get yourself more affinity as well. Your Arching Weapon with ideally these rolls for affinity on production and reinforcement for element boost +1 sharpness. Of course, if you don't get this exactly, that's fine. I got it with the add-on, with the mod, because I do not want to farm Arching Weapons, but whatever you want. You also want yourself a crit element handicraft. I don't have that. Frost, Handicraft, and Master Jewel to get yourself a big sharpness and get a lot of affinity because of it. And the interesting about this build is you don't go for full Agitator, because Raidao doesn't really have a lot of time in Agitator. For all the builds that I looked around between speedrunners and whatever that did Raidao, they never went for a big Agitator. They always went for Weakness Exploit more than anything, because it will give you a constant source of affinity on weak points that you'll be able to attack when you hit the head and the wings, and 20% more on wounds. That made me think that maybe we should go for Heartbreaker in order to do more damage on those wounds, but it's kind of hard on Raidao to actually pop multiple wounds at the same time because everything's too far apart. So I think just staying with weakness points to get yourself those wounds, pop 2 at a time instead of 3 is probably going to be the best way of doing things. Here are the pieces, of course, if you want to see them. Mantle, obviously, Corruption. And your Counter Charm 3, in order for you to get a 3 Counter Strike on 1 Charm, which is absolutely great. And here are the decorations, if you want to look at them too. You also have Burst, because it's a great thing to have. And Agitator level 1, because, look, yeah, Agitator is not that good, but having just one of them is nice, and not going to be another level 3 decoration that is better to have here. And it works out well here. And 1 Coalescence to get yourself a bit more elemental damage that I put right here. But if you want, you can change something else. So you could put Destroyer here, as I said before, or maybe an Ambush, if you really want to kill this very fast. You can also, if you want, go for a Blast Weapon instead with this build. With the same build, just go for Blast, and you just go for raw damage. You're not going to get the benefit from the weaknesses of the boss, but I know a lot of people have actual Blast set up because this used to be the meta, so you can just swap that in, and the build will work regardless. On this build, we're going to be at 53 affinity most of the time, and then considering that we're going to be attacking weakness points, we're going to end up with 30% on top of that, getting us to 83% affinity, and then once we get yourself into our Corrupted Mantle with 5% more, gonna get to 88. Now, of course, if you're attacking a wound, this is gonna get to over 100% even without the actual Corrupted Mantle, but, you know, that's not gonna be happening all the time, so. And if for some reason we actually figure out that Agitator is better than Weakness Exploit, maybe the fight will actually change a lot. We have a second build right here that has full Agitator. Instead, level 5. We'll also have Coalescence level 2, which is kind of nice, you know, a little bit more of that beautiful elemental damage from our Ice Weapon. We sadly could not fit up a Burst in here, which definitely sucks. No, actually, no, we do. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a chain. I'm blind. I made my own build, and I forgot. And it's very, very similar, but this time, you know, Agitator. So here are the pieces, if you want to check them out. And here are the decorations. For this build in Agitator, we're going to get to a 65% affinity at all times when you're actually an Agitator. And then we're going to get ourselves a 5% boost with the Corruption Mantle. Not as big as the other one, but you have your little blasts. Well, I guess you have agitator, so you gotta get yourself more attack. I know I said blast, that's not what I meant. The point is that you're gonna get yourself other benefits from agitator. The plus attack instead of the affinity is indeed very useful. And depending on the boss, it might be actually better than tenderizer, especially when the boss doesn't have that many weak points. But for right now, probably I would not recommend it, and I would recommend you to go for the weakness exploit build instead. And for the third, and in my opinion, the best build, is the Mitsuzune build. Now, why is this a meme build? It's because he uses the Mitsuzune weapon. And what the Mitsuzune weapon does is it gives you Slicked Blade. Temporarily increases the affinity when wet or when inflicted with Bubble Light. Well, how do I do that? Am I gonna get wet? Am I gonna get Bubble Light? Well, for the wet part, I guess there are a lot of water. There is a lot of water around in wind towards plains, which is where we're gonna fight right now. So theoretically, you could indeed get yourself some water and get yourself wet and get a bit more affinity. But the thing is, whenever you have 4 pieces of your Mitsuzune set, you get this very particular thing. Bubbly Dance 2 prevents major bubble light and ups evasion while inflicted. Trigger minor bubble light by evading many times. By the way, I did not come up with this. This was Peppo who made this build originally. I changed it a little bit because I didn't agree with some things. We're gonna go through it. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even, he's the one who discovered this, right? Just so you guys know, okay? Very important. He's awesome, right? You should go to subscribe to him, by the way. So, what you do with this discovery that Peppo got is that you would dodge 3 times, boom, get yourself Bubbly Dance 2 now, and now your affinity is way up. And with all of these things together, you're gonna get yourself to 69 affinity overall, and considering we also have weakness exploit as well, which applies 30% more affinity on weak points, which will be attacking all the time, that leads us to 89 affinity. And considering the fact that you could indeed get yourself wet, you could get yourself to 9% more affinity, getting yourself to 98%. And then, if you get yourself your little corruption mantle, boom, now you have full 100% affinity, full affinity, an insane amount of damage. Now, in order to do this, you're gonna have to be dodging around like a maniac. That's why in this build, you should be focusing on using Foresight Slash instead of using Special Sheath and EI. What you usually would do in builds like this. You should just always dodge instead of using that in order to get yourself into having all of your ropes at all times. You're gonna have to dodge 3 times every 30 seconds. You can do it while doing this, or ideally, obviously, while using a Foresight Slash when the boss actually attacks you. I was testing this on stream today, and I was actually succeeding a good amount by just dodging normally and having a good amount of fun with it. Now, you will have to pay attention because whenever you dodge, you will lose some stamina, making the Mighty Jewel lose its effect, but it'll be you'll get your affinity back from that in no time, so it really shouldn't matter too much. I did put a counter gem on this one, at least one, because yeah, we're not gonna be EIing all the time, but we can indeed get this effect by just Spirit Helm during an attack from the boss, using the Hyper Armor to get the knockback and get ourselves the +10 attack, and it's just free +10 attack. There's no reason not to do it. And you can always EI slash. There's a few attacks that you ideally want to do that on, so keeping track of that is nice. The original Peppo build was mainly focused on having counter as the main ability. I think that's fine, but because we're gonna be focusing on dodging so much, keeping track of also using EI and also keeping track of the buff from the bubbles, well, you can just pay attention to just the bubble one and just focusing on dodging with your Foresight Slash and triggering Adrenaline Rush that we're gonna get afterwards. I feel like it made more sense and it ended up being better for the build. We also get ourselves our counter attack jewel as well, giving us that Adrenaline Rush at all times. And of course, as we talked about, a Tenderizer here because it's better for Mr. Raidao. We also have Burst level 3, which is actually pretty crazy. Not something you usually see, but it's a nice attack damage boost anyways. Now, you can actually just change this to full Agitator and play this in another build, in another monster or whatever, and you'll get yourself into level 4 Agitator and level 2 Weakness Exploit, which is not bad at all. But you can just change your Exploiter charm that I have right here to an Thunder charm instead, and then just switch it up and get yourself on full Agitator with level 2 Actually, level 1. Weakness exploit. But this will be for a boss that's permanently in rage mode or whatever. Regardless, in both scenarios, this build is pretty fun. It's kind of meme. You're gonna have to track the little bubbly attack at all times, right? That it's not... that as soon as it leaves, you just get it back instantly and you dodge around, but the gameplay is kind of fun. And it's kind of cool to actually go in there, and you're gonna have to spam your combo of Crimson Slash into Spirit Blade over and over again a lot. And then as soon as you see 2 wounds, boom, get in here, do Spirit Thrust, Spirit Helm, and then I get your Counter Strike whenever you're doing your Spiritual Slash, and then use the wound, boom, and get back to red instantly after. Otherwise, probably not ideal. Oh, I felt. Probably not ideal to not get into red gauge, because it's so much harder to actually dodge around with Force Slash without being on red gauge. Let me know if this helped you. Let me know if I got anything wrong. And, well, I guess let's go and destroy that right now, shall we? Subscribe to the channel for more content of this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. See you guys around. Love you all. Bye. Bye.